Authenticity, passion, and purpose move people, not brochures and not verbiage.
Always forward is the way through fear. No retreat, no surrender, always forward.
There is no secret, it's all in the work. You got to roll up your sleeves and you got to do the work. You got to get down, you got to break your nails, you're going to get dirty. You've got to do the work. You can't do good business sitting on your backside.
Your SRN program begins in 10 seconds. Your SRN program will begin in 5, 4.
What you think and what you do in the moments, hours, days, or decades will determine whether your life is enriched or impoverished. You're listening to The Bill Wooditch Show. This is the hour where you learn more and do more on your quest to become more. And now, here's your host, Bill Wooditch.
Good evening. Welcome to my Saturday. It's Bill Wooditch, and you're on The Bill Wooditch Show. Our special guest tonight is we're going to do something completely different with this guy. Something we've never done before, and if it doesn't work out, we'll never do it again. We're going to do a 1-hour session, and I think you could probably be begging for more time with this guy. My guest, my very special guest, is Steve Rizzo. And believe this or not, and as we get through the interview, I think you'll probably won't believe it. He was an English teacher in the 7th and 8th grade students at West Babylon Junior High School, West Babylon, New York. He was a counselor to students with behavioral problems in the 9th to 12th grades. And from there, he later became a comedian, and he was roommate to Drew Carey. He had Dennis Miller and Rosie O'Donnell open shows for him. And he shared the stage with such icons of humor such as Eddie Murphy and Rodney Dangerfield, Jerry Seinfeld, and Ellen DeGeneres. And then he moved on to become a motivational speaker. And if you haven't seen Steve Rizzo on stage, it is a treat. Steve Rizzo is a dynamic force of nature. Dynamic. But Riz left a promising career of over 18 years, took the stage, and I don't think he's ever looked back, but we'll find out. You know, the word multifaceted means many aspects, many phases. In Steve Rizzo's case, it means many talents. He's known as the attitude adjuster, whose common sense strategies for success will help you gain perspective and perhaps discover your own source of happiness. He's in demand, and right now I demand Steve Rizzo. I am honored to call him my friend. Steve, welcome to the show.
How hell am I supposed to top that?
Oh, I think you'll find a way. Let me get this out of your system right away, okay? Go ahead and say, leave the humor to me.
Yeah, I'll tell the jokes, all right? Tough guy, that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
Steve, I'm going to take you back. You're on the biggest stage. Man, you got your own Showtime special. You have your own Showtime special. You're right there at the pinnacle. I mean, you are at the pinnacle. You're almost there. The phone rings. It's George Carlin. What does he say to you?
Well, it was at a point where I was gonna quit comedy because I couldn't take the politics, and I was having a tough time getting into some of the clubs in the city. And just when I was about to lose it, a friend of mine had we were sharing the comedy condo at a club called the Comic Strip in Fort Lauderdale, and he called George, and I didn't know he knew him, and he said, George, you got to help this guy. He's really, really funny, but he's thinking about quitting, and you went through the same thing. Maybe you can talk to him. So Colin gives me a call, and he's just about to go on at the Sands Hotel in Atlantic City, and he calls me from his green room, and he goes, Steve Rizzo. And I said, yeah. And he goes, it's George Carlin. And I said, look, pal, I'm in no mood for you, all right? Just do me a favor, whoever you are. This isn't funny. And I hung up. So about 5 seconds later, he goes, let me tell you something, asshole. He goes, you hang up on me again, you're never going to hear from me. And I knew it was him. Right then and there, I just knew it was him. And he was such a sweetheart of a guy, and I told him what my problem was. He said, do you have any kind of a video on yourself? And at the time, that's all they had was VHS tapes. And I said, yeah. He goes, send it to me. Let me see how good you are or how bad you are. So I sent it to him, And he wrote me a long letter. He actually looked at the whole video, and he said, if you quit, I still have this letter. He said, if you quit, I promise you, I will take a plane from my Beverly Hills place. I'll go to Long Island to where you live, and I will kick your ass. He goes, you cannot quit. And he said, here is my home phone number. You call me anytime you want. And we kept communication for quite a few years. As a matter of fact, he invited me to his really big HBO special, which was in Carnegie Hall. And just a great down-to-earth person, one of the best, in my view.
So, Riz, let me jump a bit forward from there.
Sure.
Why did you make the transition from stand-up comedian to motivational speaker?
Well, God, I was sabotaging. This is cut right to it. I was sabotaging some incredible opportunities that were that could have come my way, and I was doing it on an unconscious level. You had a choice in show business. You can either be what they call the road warrior and go out and make as much money as you possibly can, which is what I was doing. I was headlining clubs and theaters throughout the country, and I was making quite a bit of money. Or you could have spent a considerable amount of that time in Los Angeles and audition for pilot season and stay at the Improv and the comic strip and the Comedy Store. That's where the industry people look at you, and that's how you get your big breaks. So I convinced myself that being a road warrior was more important to me, but unconsciously what it really was is I was playing a game with my head saying it's better to be a big fish in a small ocean as opposed to a little fish in a big ocean. So I took the other route, and opportunities, and that's when all my opening acts, such as Drew Carey and Ellen DeGeneres and all the folks that you mentioned, Drew Carey, they started getting the big breaks, and they started bypassing me, and I couldn't understand why opportunity wasn't knocking on my door, but it was the whole time. I was just afraid to open the door. So I went on a quest. I really said to myself, I actually lost my temper and kind of ripped my room apart and said, I've had enough of this, and I went on a quest to better myself. I must have read every self-help book you could think of, success books, and I went to many Tony Robbins seminars. And at that time, an incredible change started taking place within me, and my perspective of the world was different. My belief system was absolutely incredible, and even people were coming up to me and saying, "You're different. What's wrong? And what have you been doing? And what's going on?" And then the entertainment industry started showing a lot of interest, but that shift started really taking on an energy of its own, and I was no longer interested in them. I decided I was going to become and I hate the term, but motivational speaker, which is why I use the term attitude adjuster.
My guest, Steve Rizzo. The lines are open. 877-956-9566. 877-956-9566. Steve, I got to get personal again.
Mm-hmm.
Did you cheat on Memorial Day when you won that lawnmower race? You beat me by half a mower at the Gilliland racetrack in North Carolina?
No, I didn't cheat, but it was really good beating your ass, though. I got to tell you that right now.
Here's the thing. Rizzo and I are on this track with a bunch of people who do this professionally. They cut lawns, okay? And they get these souped-up lawnmowers. Coolest track you've ever seen. I mean, coolest track. 25 acres on the guy's land, Steve Gilliland, and it's just a fantastic spread. So Steve's never seen a freaking lawnmower. Come on, he's in Brooklyn. He doesn't have grass. He has cement. But I grew up with these things, right? But not the riding kind. Well, Rizzo and I were in the first heat, and I blow him off, man. I'm almost going to lap him, so I think I get this easy. He gets the inside track, and I don't know. I think he souped up his engine, got some new gas in there. I don't know what he did, some kind of turbo, but he won. But I just want to get that on the record, Rizzo. That race is under protest.
Well, you can call it under protest if you want, but the greatest joy for me, I think I was the only Yankee there, and all the people were from the South, from North Carolina and various other parts of the South, and I was just driving by, looking at them, going, "Yep, the Yankees beat you again."
Riz, I got a voice for you. I got Kelsey McDaniel. She wants to say hello.
Hello, Steve.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm on the Bill Wooditch Show. What do you think about that?
I love it. Well, hey, we are going to cut to a commercial break really quick, but before we do that, I was just wondering, could you tell the audience where to find you on social media.
Yes, you could find me Facebook, and I don't have all that information on me right now. But what you can do is just go to my website, which is steverizzo.com, and you can get everything you want there. Twitter. And
Well, I do
Facebook.
follow you on Twitter myself, and I know that your Twitter handle is at Real Steve Rizzo, and you post Rizzoisms. Is that
30.
Is that what they're called? So go check them out.
Go check it out, and we're going to find out, don't go away, what the heck a humor being is, and we're going to get our shift together in the next segment. We got Steve Rizzo, Rizzo. Check him out, at The Real Steve Rizzo, right?
That's
Did I
the
get
one.
that right? And that's how Kelsey gets me into Riz.
10.
Good job with that stuff. Thanks for making me look good, Kelsey.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
My
Riz,
pleasure.
don't you hang up, Riz. Don't hang up. I don't want to hear the Three Stooges when you come back.
Oh, Claire, be back in about 1:15.
Bill Wooditch. He's a best-selling author, world-renowned speaker, and authority on leadership and performance. Bill has been hired to speak and host workshops at Fortune 500 companies, including Bank of America, AIG, Liberty Mutual Insurance Group, and Old Republic International. Fresh out of grad school, Bill began his career with only $200 to his name, a suitcase, one corduroy suit, and 2 ties. In just 2 years, he became the top salesman of a Fortune 500 company, employing over 19,000 people. He then went on to become the top producer for 2 consecutive years at the 6th largest corporate insurance broker in the world. One of his companies, the Wooditch Group, consistently generates over $100 million in sales. His secret? Always forward. His best-selling book, Always Forward, highlights a game plan for success in business and in life. Call to book Bill to speak at your upcoming event by dialing 855-841-9225. 855-841-9225. Again, that's 855-841-9225.
We're back with the Bill Wooditch Show. What the heck is a humor being? I think Steve Rizzo is going to help us out with that. Steve,
What?
what is a humor being?
Why are you asking so many questions? Oh, we're on an interview.
I know, this is
Sorry.
usually where you ask questions, and aren't you the one that leads a Q&A?
That's what I'm saying. What about my needs here is what I'm saying. A humor being, everyone listening has a humor being within them. Unfortunately, some people go their entire lives without realizing they have this incredible energy, this power within them. Your humor being is of your higher self. It is the part of you that brings out the best in you when times get really tough. What your humor being can give you more than anything else is emotional stability, which is really what we need today more than ever, I think.
You wrote a book, Get Your Shift Together, and you have a chapter titled The Finger of Optimism, and it's a story about your brother, Michael. Can you share that story, Riz?
Yeah. He's one of the reasons why I do what I do today. He is, without a doubt, the biggest inspiration of my life. The strategies that I use to turn my life around to create this belief system that I now have are really the very strategies that he used to turn his life around. He's 100% disabled as a result of the Vietnam War. He's the only man in medical history, as far as they know, that lived through that kind of wound. He's in medical journals and books as someone who beat the odds. He shouldn't be alive today. 21 feet of his small intestine were either taken out or blown out on the battlefield. His kidneys were damaged and other internal organs. And the only reason why I'm being graphic here is that I want the listeners to understand what he went through so you could appreciate how he beat this. Bill, I swear I'll never forget the first time that I saw him in St. Albans Naval Hospital in Queens, New York. If it hadn't have been for my mom and dad in the room with him, I never would have known it was him. He went from 168 pounds to 88 pounds. In the room with my mom and dad were his 2 friends from high school and his Marine Corps buddy whom he had gotten wounded with. And the whole day my brother was going in and out of consciousness. And it was at the end of the day when the doctors came in and told my mom and dad the bad news and said, "I'm sorry, but it doesn't look like he's going to make it, not even through the night." I'll never forget the look on my mom and dad's face. His 2 friends from high school walked out of the room, and his Marine Corps buddy was hitting the wall saying, "Why?" And as all this was going on, I remember looking at my brother. I was right next to him, And I was only 17 years old at the time, wondering if this is going to be the last time that I'm ever going to see him. And something strange started happening. You know, he's supposed to be unconscious, but his hand is slowly starting to rise from his side, and he clenched his fist, and up came his middle finger. and right then and there, I knew he was going to try and make it, because that was his humor being, that was his sense of humor, and that was his answer to the doctor's diagnosis, and it was the answer he gave them every single time they told him he couldn't and wouldn't be able to do something. First they said that he wouldn't live long. Well, they're wrong, because he's alive today. Then they said he would have to be on a special diet because, you know, he only had 1 foot of small intestine left. They thought he would have to eat like liquids and baby food and oatmeal. And my brother's attitude was, hey, don't you ever tell me what I'm going to eat, all right? I'm going to eat a bowl of pasta and a couple of meatballs, even if I have to sit on a toilet while I'm eating it. And the thing is that he lived long enough, Bill, where his small intestine stretched a bit, and he was able to compensate and use the rest of his digestive system for what his small intestine could no longer do. To this day, doctors are amazed when he goes in for checkups. They call him the Miracle Man. Every time he'll go in for a checkup, they go, here comes the Miracle Man. But here's my point to the listeners and to everyone I tell this story to. I believe in miracles. I believe we all have opportunities to perform our own miracles. And if you think about it, what is a miracle? Nothing but a shift in perception. It's looking at something at one point that seems to be totally impossible to achieve, and then with a shift in your attitude and the way that you think, that impossibility suddenly becomes very possible. My brother had a belief system, Bill, that was second to none. First of all, he never said, why me? I'm not saying he didn't go through tough times. He went through intense times. But he never wallowed in the why me syndrome, which is what people have a tendency to do when they're confronted with a major change like that. Right. That's the first thing they do. You know, they say, why me? Why is this happening? As soon as you do that, you open up the door to the negative zone. You go in, the door's closed, and it's very difficult to get out. He said, this is me. What do I have to do to turn this around? Who can I go to that can help me? What needs to be done for me to live the life that I want to live? And he never focused on what was missing. He always focused on what he had left, which is something people do also when change or when they're confronted with an intense challenge like that. As a matter of fact, the turning point of his turning around was he wasn't allowed to eat solid foods at all, and doctors forbid it. They just said, you can't do that. But my brother Rocky and I know, Rocky Rizzo, go figure. My brother Rocky and I would always feed my brother a slice of pizza, Meatball Heroes, and one day 3 doctors were walking in. My brother's eating this giant Meatball Hero, and the doctors just lost their minds, and they're yelling at him, I can't believe you're doing this. We're trying to save your life. Don't you understand that you only have 1 foot of small intestine? And in the middle of that sentence, my brother takes the Meatball Hero, throws it at the doctor, hits him square in the chest. Meatball sauce goes all over the guy's face, all over his tie, his shirt. And my brother yells and says, you want to know what your problem is? You keep reminding me on the 21 feet that are missing, and I'm trying to focus on the 1 foot I have left. We're doing it my way from now on.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, though, Bill. It was 3 days later. One of the doctors came back, and I was right next to my brother when this happened. And the doctor came in, sat at the head of the bed, touched my brother on the foot, and said, you know what? You might have something there. Let's try it your way. And I think the thing that really helped him more than anything else was that he made this conscious choice to enjoy himself during the rebuilding process and to find the laughter in between and even during the tough times. And this is what I believe separated him from everyone else that was in that hospital. And I'm not passing judgment here because I know these guys had their own pain to deal with, but I honestly believe what separated my brother from them is that they were saying, how do you expect me to enjoy myself the way I am? How can I find the laughter the way I am? Or I'll enjoy myself and I'll laugh if and when I get better. My brother said, nope, I'm going to make this choice to enjoy myself during the process, and I'm going to find, even if I have to dig deep, to find the laughter within me and around me. And as a result, that helped him to get better. And that's the difference in the mindset.
You know, Steve, this show is about empowerment, and that is an extremely empowering and motivational story. Extremely. To focus on the rebuilding and take actually the joy in the rebuilding, to find something, to find that meaning. You know, that's got to run in the Rizzo DNA, because there was someone else who was told once that he couldn't do something, And I think I don't want to ruin this for you, but you were introduced by Woody Harrelson, and he said, Steve, how would you like to be introduced? And what was your answer? And before you give the answer, I think this is important for every parent, for everyone out there who's ever worn a label, who's ever felt the pain of a label, who's ever owned a label from other people, to say, you can't do this, you are this, and you will never do this. I think this is a great story. What did Steve Rizzo say when Woody Harrelson asked him, how would you like to be introduced?
It's such a great question, because I didn't have this planned at all. It just came out. And when I said it, I got very, very emotional, and Woody came over and gave me a big hug. He goes, it's the coolest thing I've heard in a long time. I said, you tell them that you're going to bring up someone who was voted least likely to succeed in his senior class from West Babylon High School, but now he's here on his Showtime special at Atlantic City in the Sands Hotel. And what an empowering feeling that was to tell my negative labels to go screw off. You can't hurt me anymore.
Right.
And, the sad truth about negative labels, though, Bill, is that most people aren't aware that they have them, and they don't know why their lives aren't working. And if you don't know that something's broken, you can't fix it.
Riz, the resilience gene obviously runs in your family, but does humor run in your family as well? And if it does, give me an example.
Humor runs in my entire family constantly. To my son, to my dad, my mom had a great sense of humor. Months before she passed away, and we knew she didn't have that much time left, my dad and I had to take her to the doctor's office to find out results from tests that were taken, and we knew the results weren't going to be positive, and you could imagine how stressful that is. And
right.
We get to the doctor's office, and the waiting room is packed, and that adds more stress, and my dad's fidgeting, and I'm looking at my dad fidgeting, and my mom's just sitting in there. Unknowingly, she's sitting on a magazine, and the edge of the magazine is sticking out, and this guy walks by, and he goes, excuse me, ma'am, are you reading that? And my dad gives me a nudge like, oh, my God, let the show begin. So without missing a beat, my mom stands up, looks at the guy, looks back down at the magazine, turns a page, sits back down, looks up at the guy and says, I have one page left. And everyone started laughing. And that's just the way that she is. And it helped us to embrace her passing on, too, on many different levels.
Riz, I'm going to call your cell phone. You're not there, but maybe the Three Stooges are. How would that sound?
I used to have this. And as a matter of fact, I do this for people. People ask me to come over to their house. When I come over to your place, I got to do this. I got to do this recording. This is how it'll sound. Hey, Mo, somebody's on the phone. What do I tell them? Why, you idiot, you just tell them there ain't no one home. Yeah, and tell them to leave a message after the beep. What beep? This one. Oh. Hey, come on, fellas. Quit fooling around. We got work to do. Beep.
He's Steve Rizzo, and he is one funny humor being. 877-956. I think this is right. 9566. Did I get that wrong, or am I getting dyslexia in my older age?
877-956-9566.
Someone in the studio wrote 965. I blew that. It must have been the ghost of Rizzo there, coming right through, permeating right through. Steve, what is your defining moment?
I would say my defining moment was the leaving the world of stand-up. When I say leaving, my roommate was Drew Carey, and we would share an apartment together during pilot season. And pilot season is when you try out for movies and TV shows and commercials and everything. I had just come back from an audition for a TV show for a pilot. And he said, hey, how'd it go? I said, it went really good. And he said, what do you want to go for dinner? I said, you go where you want. I said, I'm going home. I'm not doing this anymore. Wow. And he knew I was contemplating becoming a speaker. And, he just looked at me. First he thought it was joking, and we had an argument. And the defining moment is when he said, you can't leave now. You're so close to making it. And I looked at him and I said, how could I be close to something I don't want anymore?
Good point.
And then he said,
1 minute.
Then he said, well, you're you've wasted all of this time in it. I said, it's not a waste, and I'm not quitting, really. It's a shift in direction, man. That's all I'm doing. And I was scared. That was one of the most frightening times of my life, because you're leaving something that you're really good at. You're very successful at it, but there's a point in everyone's life where you have to listen to your heart, and not the big mouth inside your head. And the big mouth is your ego, as you know from the
as I know from my own. His latest book is Motivate This. It's Steve Rizzo. Steve Rizzo, and don't go away, because, Steve, I want you to start warming up in the bullpen. Not that you need to do this, but we're going to visit. We're going back in time. We're going back to the 1980s, and it's not a flock of seagulls and an oil shortage. We're going to the Falkland Islands, but we ain't going until we come back. Kelsey, you want to say something to Riz before we take off here?
5.
Nope.
No.
We got to go to break.
Don't go away. Welcome back. It's the Bill Wooditch Show. Last week I was in Perryton, Texas with my friends from Perryton, and what a great, great town. Steve Rizzo was doing the keynote speech. I got to watch Rizzo in action. I got to sit next to my good friend, Jim Powell, who is now on hold for Steve Rizzo. Jim, how you doing?
Doing very well. How are y'all?
Oh, great, man. Good to hear your voice. You got a question for the Riz?
No, I just wanted to tell you how much I was enjoying your show.
Better yet. Thank you, Jim. Rizzo, did you hear that?
Yeah, there was one. Joe, it's great to hear you, man. Thanks for calling in. It was a pleasure. You folks are absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was, just made us feel so comfortable, and I had a blast.
Well, as did we, and we're really, really glad to have both of you. Heck, all three of you. That was a big plus for Leadership Perryton.
Well, thanks, and thanks for having me. I do appreciate that. The second day was a blast too. Doing the seminar, the half day seminar was really good. Everyone seemed to walk away with good information.
Jim, you make sure you tell everybody hello from me, and I will tell you this from the bottom of my heart. It is my favorite place to do a talk. Love it.
Well, thank you. It was a lot of fun for us. Now, I'm going to let y'all go because I want to hear that story about the Falkland Islands.
What a great segue. Okay. The Falkland Islands conflict was a 10 weeks war between Argentina and the United Kingdom. Now, Rizzo, you are all over YouTube, so do not check them out yet on YouTube, people. But it's all over YouTube. This is a sensation. So history, I know you like history too, Steve, but why don't you give me a little history lesson on the Falkland Islands? Maybe it's geography on the Falkland Islands.
Well, here's the thing. Let me tell you how this bit came about. I did it not the first time I did it, but the time that everyone got to hear about it, there were two times. It was once on the radio, but the first time I did it on a TV show, on national TV, Comic Strip Live. I don't know if you remember that. Was on in the early 90s. But the thing with this TV show is that it was live, so you couldn't edit anything out. And I decided to be daring because this was a bit that I decided to do that I didn't tell them I was going to do, because usually before you do TV, they have to okay the bits. So the bit starts off like this. I tell everyone I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I said everybody says people from Brooklyn have a bad attitude, and everybody says that they curse a lot. They don't mean to. It's just that certain words are adjectives to them. When I was going to college, I was in a history class with a friend of mine who was from Brooklyn, and the professor was talking about when Argentina attacked the Falkland Islands. So my friend stands up and says, "Yo, excuse me, professor, but what Falkland Islands you talking about?" So the professor's like, "No, I don't think you understand." He's going, "No, I don't think you understand. I asked you a question, all right? I got to know what Falkland Islands you're talking about. You might not know this, but there's Falkland Islands all over the place. What am I supposed to put on the test, for crying out loud?" So the professor's like, "Listen to me. There's only one Falkland Island." He's like, "Hey, moron, look at the map. Look at it. You see those little pieces of dirt floating around in the water? You know what they are? They're Falkland Islands. You got the Hawaiian Falkland Islands, the Bermuda Falkland Islands, the Caribbean Falkland Islands, and somewhere on there you got Gilligan's Falkland Island."
Oh, my gosh.
When I did that, I got a phone call from every comedian in the country. "How did you get away with that?" I really didn't get away with it. I was banned from doing the show again.
Oh, my gosh.
He just can't help himself. He's Steve Rizzo. 877-956-9566. We are with one of the brightest people and the smartest people, one of the funniest people that I know. And I got to ask you this. I talked with you about this, and you had a great solution. If the Godfather was in charge of the Middle East and he was involved in the war, how do you think he'd negotiate?
Well, this whole bit came about because of my dad. My dad always used to jump up. I used to love to watch the news with my father because he would just jump up and say, "Hey, if we had an Italian for president, we wouldn't be having this problem," because my dad's 100% Sicilian. So I started thinking, because when he says Italian, he means the mafia. So what would happen if we did have, an Italian for president? I mean, think about it. We wouldn't even know if he was lying or not because Italian people just don't like to answer questions. The press would have a hell of a time with him. "Mr. President, what are your plans for the future?" "Hey, I'm going to do things, all right? That's all you need to know. I'm going to do this thing, that thing, and a couple of other things. Who is this guy? Get his number. I want to know where he lives." Picture this, everyone, all the viewers. Italian president. He's sitting in the Oval Office. This is during the Gulf War. He's sitting in the Oval Office. He's sipping wine. They're talking business. And in the background, the national anthem's playing. "Hey, let's get Ambassadors Tony and Louie. Go over there and talk to that moron, Saddam." Yeah, Ambassadors Tony and Louie are formerly from the Roy George Vending Company of New Jersey. They wind up in Saddam's tent with three-piece suits, pinky rings. "Hey, Saddam, how you doing, huh? We was talking. This is a real nice country you got here. Would be a shame if something should happen to it. Capiche? Like an accident. God forbid. One day your country's here, and the next day it ain't. Bada bing, bada boom." And, of course, Saddam wakes up the next morning. There's a camel's head in his bed. See, now, if you saw The Godfather, you would know that's a very funny line. If you didn't, you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about.
I can't stop laughing.
Got to give me a minute. It's the real Steve Rizzo. Steve, get your. You've written 3 books. Motivate This is your latest book, and it's got some extremely valuable lessons about purpose and happiness and perspective. Riz, what is your version of happiness?
My version of happiness is looking at life as if it's happening for us, not to us.
Great point.
I think a lot of people look at life and every time something goes wrong, they just start whining about it, and they look at it, and that's when you play the victim and you feel like you're being screwed over and opportunity never comes your way. But if you look at your challenges, even the most severe things, as an opportunity for you to grow, for you to learn, and I believe that's why we're really here on this planet. We're here to experience, to learn, and to grow and become. And what you learn will determine how you grow, and how you grow will lead to who and what you become as a person. And if you view life from that perspective, and I'm not saying it's easy, but it's really a key to happiness. If you look at it from that perspective, your challenges, even the most severe ones, could really be the biggest blessings in the long run. It may be years before you figure that out, but if it makes you a more compassionate person, if it makes you a more giving person, if it makes you even a more successful person, then you're learning the lessons of what life is trying to teach you.
He's helping us get our shift together. His name is Steve Rizzo, and we have a caller.
We have Buzz.
We have
from
Buzz.
North Carolina.
Buzz, welcome to the Bill Wooditch Show.
Hi, Steve. This is one of those rednecks that was on the track with you at Steve's place in the lawnmower race.
Are you going to whine about losing too?
No. Best I recall, you didn't even know how to start the thing. I think it was rigged.
No. I'm surprised they won. I'm telling you, I didn't even know how to sit in it. I had no idea how to start it, nor did I know how to stop it. But I will tell you, I did win, and you can call it luck, but I'll just take it. I
think I'm due a rematch.
Yes, I think I'd take one as well. I would take one as well.
Okay, if you don't mind losing again, I don't care. I like surrounding myself with losers.
Oh, you're that cocky, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I'm here in New York. How can I not feel cocky?
Okay.
Thank you, Buzz.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Buzz.
You know, Riz, I'm gonna jump on this one with you, and then we can probably take it on after the break because I think we're gonna push ourselves right to the break. But I'm gonna come back with something I think, and I want the listeners to stay tuned for this because in your book, you say researchers have found that we each enter the world with a certain fixed degree of happiness, meaning that our happiness is set at a certain fixture, and you say there's hope. We're gonna come out around this break. I want you to tell me where there's hope for me, because I think right now my attitude, although a little bit up because you're on the show, could use a little fixing. So may have to get a little shift.
I don't remember writing that, but okay.
Well, it's quoted to you, so you better look it up right now because I'm going to come at you with that question. I was giving you a little forewarning, so now you're forearmed.
Okay, I'll get my book now, there, Billy boy.
877-956-9566.
1 minute.
Callers are queuing up for Steve Rizzo. Steve, I will tell you, you are the comedian turned philosopher, and your philosophy is in depth. It's from the heart. It's from feeling. It's from your experience. And could there be any more rich reservoir of the personal experiences that one has that they can bring forth to share with the world when it's intended to be a constructive experience? And I think you've been great with that, and your book's really revealed the real Steve Rizzo. So thank you for that.
And I bought the book. I want you to sign it next time I see you.
Hell, you gave it to me.
Oh, you didn't even have to pay for it.
Rizzo even bought me a Subway sub when we were in Texas.
The book is free. You just have to pay for the autograph. That's all.
Oh, gotcha. Or get beat in a lawnmower race.
You know, that's what happens. Really? We're going to come out of the break. We're going to find out how do we get our degree of happiness up. So, Riz, you might want to do a little research on your own book. I should find
10.
Show it to him.
All clear, and Dave's sitting tight.
Okay.
Need a speaker for your next event? All Things Speaking is privileged to represent an elite group of some of the most exciting speakers and corporate trainers in the industry, including the host of the Bill Wooditch Show, Bill Wooditch. Our speakers are disruptors, innovators, thought leaders, humorists, and trusted advisors. They represent the best in their fields, each making a global impact due to their passion, experiences, or downright audacious insights into the world. They are entertaining, inspiring, and real. As a management company, All Things Speaking focuses exclusively on the individual speakers we manage. We respond to all speaking inquiries, handle negotiations, manage speaker calendars, issue agreements, and coordinate logistics. All Things Speaking has partnered with countless corporations, associations, speaker bureaus, and agencies across the nation, and earned a well-deserved reputation for superior service, integrity, and professionalism. From the first contact to organizing flights and travel, we have your back. To make sure the speaker at your next event exceeds expectations, visit our website at allthingsspeaking.com or call us toll-free at 855-841-9225. That's 855-841-9225. Again, the number to call is 855-841-9225.
We're back. We got Steve Rizzo. It's the real Steve Rizzo. And we've got a caller lined up right away. It's Dave. Dave, welcome to the Bill Wooditch Show.
Thank you, Bill. Steve, I'm glad you're going to talk about happiness because I just learned that I'm going to need some major back surgery, and I do not want to undergo the knife. And I just don't get any respect in my life. And so I told the doctor I want a second opinion, and he said, okay, you're ugly too. So that's a lead into an old Rodney Dangerfield joke.
I'll tell you, Dave, that's a real funny joke. You know, hey, the other day I asked my wife to take out the garbage. Actually, the other day I told my son to take out the garbage. He said, you married her, you take her out. Dave, my sex life is terrible. It really is. It's like shooting pool with a rope. You know what I'm saying? It's terrible.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, it's serious radio. Lighten up, lady, all right? Calm down.
I just wanted to know if you had ever met Rodney.
Yes, I knew Rodney quite well back in the day. I headlined his comedy club for 2 years in a row. 1986 was a great year for him. Every weekend, every single weekend in 1986, every Friday and Saturday. We did 3 shows each night, and I got to have dinner with him, quite a few times and sat with him at the bar and a couple other things. That's really none of your business, Dave, and I'm not going to tell you.
Thanks for your time.
Dave's got a future in radio because he asked a great question. He just gave me a reminder of something that you said on stage. And you talked about happiness and you talked about Rodney Dangerfield. I think this is it's a compelling story. Why don't you talk about Rodney when you were the headliner and he would come into the club. He was at the height of his career and should have been basking in that limelight of stardom. Tell me what that was like.
Yeah, as I told you, Bill, it was one of the biggest lessons, if not the biggest lesson I've ever learned in my life. It's about what will happen, and I want everyone to get this that's listening. Not what will happen if you continue to put your happiness on hold, which most of us do, have a tendency to do in this country in particular. We always wait for the goal to be achieved, and I'll be happy when, and I'll be happy when I get this. Well, it was a Saturday night. It was the last show, and I got off the stage, and the place was packed, standing room only, and who's walking through the crowd but Rodney himself. And the crowd saw him, and they went absolutely ballistic. It was deafening in that room. There was a ringing in my ear. I mean, it was just, every time he walked into the room, it was like that. And they're screaming, Rodney, Rodney, Rodney. I'm standing in the back of the room watching this whole thing go on. He waits for the audience to calm down. He does 10 minutes. And by the way, you have to realize that at this point in his career, folks, he was voted one of the top 3 recognizable faces in the country, the number 1 comedian. He was on a Tonight Show every other week. He had 4 HBO specials, and he had 2 hit movies that year, rated a 9 or a 10. And he goes on this stage, and he was just total command of the audience. He does 10 minutes of new material for his new HBO special that's coming out in a couple of months, and he goes to walk off, and they wouldn't let him go, and they're screaming, "You're number one, you're number one," and I didn't think it would be possible, but the noise got even louder, and it was a ringing in my ear that was even more intense, and it took his bodyguard and the waiters to help him off the stage. And as he's walking off, and women are grabbing him and kissing him and asking him for his autograph, and people are shaking his hand. And I remember standing in the back of the room saying, "Oh, my God, this is what it's like to be a star. This guy has the world in the palm of his hands." And I realized that it wasn't too soon after that I started learning this lesson, that sometimes holding the world in the palm of your hands isn't what's important. What's important are the choices that you make as you're holding it. The crowd was gone. The doors were locked. The wait staff was cleaning up the room, and I went over to the bar, as I so often did, where Rodney was sitting, and I put my arms around him, gave him a big kiss on the cheek. I sat down and said, "Hey, man, how does it feel to be a superstar?" He downed a triple scotch, looked at me square in the face, and said, "I'll tell you, Stevie, it sucks. It really sucks." And I was waiting. For the punchline, and there wasn't one. And he went on a verbal, bitter tantrum on how the entertainment industry ruined his life and how he should have made it 30 or 40 years ago when he was younger, when he could have enjoyed himself. And he just did a lot of mumbling, and he stopped for a while, and I was thinking, what can I do? I wanted to give him some kind of a pep talk, and I just looked at him. I said, "Man," I said, "didn't you hear that crowd? You're loved. You are absolutely loved. Most comedians your age fizzle out. No one knows who they are anymore. You're at the top. You're at the pinnacle. 2 hit movies rated a 9 or a 10, 4 HBO specials. You're responsible for launching the careers for many of the top comedians today." And he just looked at me with this sorrowful look and said, "I'll tell you, Stevie, all I know is I don't expect you to understand. All I know is that I should have made it 30 or 40 years ago when I was younger. I sacrificed everything, my life, my family, my kids, for this moment to happen. And now that I got it, I still can't enjoy it. I'm telling you that it sucks."
He's now, Steve Rizzo, keynote star, motivational, 200,000. How many miles do you log a year? I mean, I can't even. 200,000?
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't.
He's in demand. He's a philosopher. He's a comedian. And you know what? He's a pretty decent guy. I actually like Rizzo. I really do. It's hard to believe, but I really like him a lot. Steve, I'm getting back to the question. Got to give me some hope. Researchers you wrote found that we each entered the world with a certain fixed degree of happiness. But you say there's hope. So why don't you give the listeners and me some hope that how we can take that fixed degree and maybe pick it up a couple more degrees.
Yeah, I call it your overall degree of happiness, and we all have it. And I make a point of saying this to people when I speak to them, because I don't expect anybody to be happy 24/7, 365 days a year. That's insane. You can't do that. So I'm talking about your overall degree of happiness. What I mean by that is a sunny blue sky can be scattered with clouds. Some people, when they wake up in the morning, they pull the curtains over and they look at the sun and the blue sky and they see the clouds in the corner. But what they focus on are the sun and the blue skies, and they say to themselves, "Man, this is going to be a good day. I can't wait to get to work to get things done." And and they go through their morning with a smile on their face. Then there are those who wake up in the morning, they pull the curtains over. They're looking at the same sun and the blue skies, and they see the clouds, but what they're focusing on are the clouds, and they're saying to themselves, damn it, it's going to be one of those days. It was one of those days yesterday, and it'll probably be one of those days tomorrow. My life pretty much sucks. So I want all your listeners out there to, for a few moments, take a few moments by yourself, and you're going to know this. Ask yourself right now, what is it that you usually focus on in your world when you wake up in the morning? When you're going through the day, especially when you're confronted with challenges and things aren't going the way that you want. Do you usually focus on the sun and the blue skies, or do you focus on the clouds?
He logs 200,000 miles a year on airplanes delivering that message. And you're out there proselytizing that message. And I'll let you, after the show, don't go to your thesaurus, Steve. I'll tell you what proselytizing means after the show. Tell me about your health schedule, because to log that many miles, to do what you do, I know you're famous for naps, but what else do you do? Because you have a ton of energy and you're in good physical shape. Tell me how you take care of yourself with that kind of schedule.
Drugs, a lot of drugs and a lot of alcohol, and it keeps me, it's like in formaldehyde. No, that's a good question. I meditate every day. I go to bed early almost every night. I go to the gym 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. I work out for an hour to an hour and a half. I've always done that. I'm 65 years old. I don't feel it at all.
You told me you were 56, Riz.
Excuse me?
You lied to me. You told me you were 56.
No, I never said that. You must be dyslexic or something, and you're hearing it in your head that way. I'm 65, and I meditate, and when I'm on the road all the time, I take a nap every day. I know when I'm getting exhausted. I know when to walk away from challenges instead of beating it to death. I know how to temporarily step away from those times that are really challenging or stressing me out, and I engage in activities that lift my spirits a little bit. I eat right. There's a whole lot of things that you need to do when you travel as much as I do. Right. Otherwise, you could, it can catch up to you.
Steve, what's tougher, comedy or motivational speaking?
Oh man,
did you hang up?
You know what? It's a good question, and
hello.
I would have to say maybe stand up. But what's more rewarding, motivational speaking, I guess, for me anyway, because I get to do both. Not only do I get to make the audience laugh, I give them, my common sense success strategies that I believe is making a difference. I don't think any speaker does change people's life, but what we really can do is we could be the spark that ignites change. And I think that's what you do and I do and Steve Gilliland does. And that's what we could hope for. And I think the motivational thing is more rewarding, which is why I made the shift. That's where my heart was telling me to go. I don't have any regrets about doing that either, Bill. Every now and then
that was one of my questions. But I want you to stick around for something. We actually got some write-ins. We got a bunch of emails, and I want Kelsey to stick around because you can help me with this. Kelsey, what was a couple of the responses we got from the previous shows?
Well, these were three of my favorites, but one of them, and I swear I did not write this, but somebody wrote in to you and said, "I've watched you on Facebook Live. You need to get bigger shirts."
Well, there you go, Riz. I need to get bigger shirts.
I need to get bigger shirts?
Well, I don't know.
No, Bill Wooditch needs to get bigger shirts.
I'm not talking about you.
Oh, that he does. I was just going to say Bill needs to get bigger shirts for crying out loud. Almighty. This guy breathes and you hear the seams ripping.
Oh, my gosh.
What's wrong with my boy mediums? And Rizzo, you don't take one nap a day. You take a nap after you have breakfast. You take about 5 naps a day. Remember when we were in the Gilliland Suites and I got the A suite and you got the small deluxe room, right, with a twin bed?
Yeah, so what do you have to bring that up for?
Oh my God.
1 minute.
Remember? But I actually made you breakfast because you were the celebrity, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right, and don't forget it. No,
I
you're
got
right.
my own DirecTV. I got Voss water. I got the chocolate. I don't know.
Yeah.
What kind of water did you get? Did you get tap water or did they give you those little...
Yep. All right, Bill, but who won the race? All right, Bill? Let's go back to that.
Hey, he's
all
got
right?
a good point. Steve Rizzo has been my special guest. I love him. I can't wait to see you again, my friend. You're going to come visit me in Laguna Beach, California. We're going to have a blast. We'll probably do this
30.
again. And you've been great, Steve. Thank you very much. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, man. I love you. I love you, Kev. Take care, guys.
Take care of yourself. Steve Rizzo. You can find him, find his books, Motivate This, his most recent book. Go to Amazon, buy the book.
Absolutely.
He's great. Love him. Until next week, right?
Yeah.
This
Always.
is Bill
10
Wooditch,
seconds.
Kelsey McDaniel. Always forward, the only way you can go in life. The Bill Wooditch Show. Can't wait to get on you again next week.
There we go. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.